Uh, yeah. Okay. So, well, you got a brief about what we've done over the year. We wanted to take just a brief step back as to why transforming customer journey it is. Is this one more three-letter acronym that people have picked up? Is it, what is it relevance to Talisma? So what I'm going to show is a showcase of where we are. And this, when I'm saying, I'm not talking about us as in Talisma. I'm talking us as in a country, us as an industry, where we stand right now, and what is the significance of all this. I don't know if anyone of you all have seen this graph. This is a fabulous work done by one of the macroeconomics guru called Angus Madison. He did a graph of 2,000 years of world GDP. So when you're talking about a 2,000-year history, he has taken a map of how countries have grown at different points of time. If you see, for example, in 180, India and China dominate. Okay, and the talk now is people talking about India dominating and India and China dominating now. But if you see in 180, it was actually India and China were dominating almost like 60% of world GDP even then. Okay. Different things happen for economies to grow. Different things in terms of either there is a disruption which is a creative disruption, like if you see the case of United Kingdom in the Industrial Revolution of mid 1850s or late 1800. You will see that there was a significant increase of their GDP. Or if you take, for example, someone like the US, for example, post-World War II, they became a sudden dominant force in world GDP. So everyone had some cause of a disruption. In some cases, it could be invasions and which made it smaller, which was, let's say, in the case of India, for example, where the economy actually grew smaller over a period of time, or a Russia where the disintegration actually made it much smaller kind of thing. So every country or economies as a whole get these disruptions can actually be creative in nature, where they actually grow and expand, or these disruptions can be destructive in nature, where they actually start collapsing or becoming smaller. But there's also one more factor to this whole disruptions theory, and this is what is known as a demographic dividend. Now, a demographic dividend is typically when more than half the population is contributing to the GDP versus a smaller half actually being dependents. And if you see countries, if you see my previous chart, for example, if you see a country like Japan, it starts progressing significantly in the 60s onwards, which also coincides with the time where the demographic dividend was positive, till the point of 2004, where actually it becomes an aging economy and then starts slowing down. So almost every country which has grown has had this boost with how their demographics have actually changed. India is in that phase. If you see India, 2018 is when we actually start gaining on this demographic dividend. Okay. But just the demographic dividend doesn't actually make a difference. There are countries which have had this demographic dividend. It's either been too small or they have not done to capitalize on that. So if you don't capitalize on this demographic dividend, then you also don't get a significant boost on it. You probably have a worse economy in some cases, like say in cases like Brazil, for example, where things didn't grow and hence unemployment became a huge issue at some point of time. So this is another big factor from a disruption perspective, where you have an opportunity at this stage, which is in India's case a very large scale of 37 years, where we have a chance for making a significant difference. And this dividend also is a fact that your demographics of your companies, your customers, is also going to be significantly different for the next 30, 35 years. So what you do with them and what you do with that opportunity is an opportunity for you all to look at. A slightly more tangential view. If anyone has seen this, this is a view of NASA in 2016, a night view of NASA of United States. If you see primarily United States, the lights are all either in the eastern seaboard kind of area or on the western side to one extreme. The middle area is full of empty or unoccupied areas which are there. If you take a night view of China, for example, which you think is comparatively similar to India, populous kind of nation, but even there, the areas around Beijing on the top and Shenzhen on the south is all busy, but the rest of the area is not so occupied. But if you see a country like India, it is fairly widespread, the amount of lights that you see everywhere. So as an economy, we are growing. As a demographic, we are becoming younger. And as a country, we are fairly widespread in terms of how the population is spread. So all three factors give us different kinds of opportunities and different kinds of challenges that we want to expose on. So these three primary forces that we're talking about, when you're talking about technology, we are talking about globalization, we are talking about demographics, all three have been causes of disruption across millennia. So it's not a problem of now, it's not a problem of 10 years, 50 years, 100 years kind of thing. Across thousands of years, these have been causes of disruption. These can be creative in nature, it can be destructive in nature. It's up to you as a company and as a population or as an industry, how well you use that. Okay. From an industry concept, all these four names that I'm taking, all four have caused some significant disruption to the markets. A Jio and Paytm in an Indian context, and an Uber and an Airbnb in a worldwide concept. All of them have something in common. They've all been a cause of digital transformation. So Jio, from a telecom perspective, changed life from a pure telco voice calling to making data as the primary mode of communication. Uber and Airbnb are primarily a supply chain or a supply-demand kind of matching that happened, where there was a huge amount of supply in certain areas, like an Airbnb, where common rooms could be used as hotel rooms. As a concept that transformed the hotel industry, for some on a destructive way, and some on a creative way. So it's up to you on how you're using this digital transformation, whether it is going to be disruptive or creative in nature. And to this disruption on all these four places, the key is a digital transformation. And when we are talking about digital transformation, one of the things that you need to look at is how customers are moving ahead, how your customers are actually using your solutions, your products, and what's the kind of customers are you serving. Now, to this is where we are coming to the concept of a customer journey mapping. You saw a brief of that, was what Raj actually showed you all, that when we are showing a customer journey map over a life cycle, you will find different aspects of it. And this is not a static story. This is not a story that will remain valid for many years kind of thing. At every point, you will have to redefine your customer journey map. You will have to refine how it works. And this is where we come to the customer journey map. Now, what's the difference between a typical customer journey map or what we used to talk from ages about omni-channel experience or a single channel experience or a touch point kind of thing? In each touch point, if you see in this particular example, everyone is doing well. Every touch point is doing well by itself. An agent is getting 90% satisfaction. The call center is getting 85% satisfaction. Everyone is doing well by themselves. But if you take it from an end-to-end satisfaction, it comes to only 60%. That's the difference in paradigm that we're talking about. A 90% might be good if that's the only transaction that you are doing. But if you are doing it over multiple touch points and over multiple times, periods of time, that's what we are talking about when you're talking about a customer journey map. Okay? And this is where we are coming to the overall journey map that we're talking about. Now, in this journey map, what we are saying is, to us, the touch points happen to be a side story. The touch points are there because customers want it, they like it, they would have a preferred channel of communication, not necessarily whether you have it or not. And they decide how they want to communicate it. The power is in them in terms of how they want things to be communicated. But from your perspective, you have whether from a prospecting stage to the acquisition or a sales side, to the service, to the loyalty side of things, across the entire journey, how are customers going to talk to you? How are they going to interact? What is the value add that you can do at each part of the journey is what we are looking at. And this is a diagram that we are planning to use, and we have started using it across the board in our company. So for example, even when my sales guys, for example, go and meet prospects, the first thing I would want them to know is, okay, where is the value that we are adding? What is their current journey map, and is there some significant value that we are adding? When my implementations teams are going now, we are actually doing the customer journey map as the first step of the BRD, which earlier used to be more defined with features in our product. We want to basically see, okay, where is the difference that we can do, so that we know what's the difference that we have done as part of the journey, rather than having implemented certain modules and certain steps. And this is where, in terms of from a theme, from a 11.0 perspective also, that's where we are doing. While the bottom sides are more internal in nature, customers don't really treat them as, okay, this is prospect and this is acquisition and this is service and so and so. They are talking to a customer. They are talking to a company. The customer doesn't care whether you are account manager, you are a service manager, you are handling social, you are handling telephony. To them, they are talking to the company. How can you give a single interface and a single level of experience across the entire journey is what we are talking about. Okay. In that, so from a pure theory perspective, as a prospect management part of it, we are talking about, these are the ones on the right are the solutions that we have brought. This is the solution that we have brought in 11.0. Now again, to us, 11.0 is the start of the journey. It's not the only thing. So it's not that we can say that, okay, with 11.0 we have actually reached everything. So these are our first steps, but these are the solutions that we have built for prospect management. So both, for example, both social and instant messaging support, where we are supporting tools like Facebook Messenger, we are supporting WhatsApp. The idea is that a younger demographic is actually more attuned to tools which are in their mobile. There is a new generation that has come up, which has probably grown with mobile phones in their hand. So they will be comfortable talking to a customer service on a mobile phone. They will not be so comfortable maybe sending even emails. Okay. A generation before was not so comfortable sending letters. So every generation will have their mode of communication, and which is what we will have to do. So from an insight perspective, what we have added in 11.2 as a generic theme is an opportunity for you to get deep customer insights throughout the product cycle. So whenever you are talking to a customer, it could be through the mobile phone, through the app, or through the desktop, you would be able to get insights of the customer. You could get it, plug in third-party sources, you could take it from our own sources, but you will get insights as to what the customer has. It could be issues, it could be insights, it could be behavioral things that we would be actually able to plug in as part of the product at different stages. From an acquisition perspective, we are looking at things like mobility, we are looking at field sales management, gamification, geotagging as objects to basically make sure that your field sales and field service part of it are more proactive, they are able to add significant value. And at every point of time, the idea is that whoever is meeting the customer is empowered and be able to handle the queries and solve those queries at that point of time. Typically, most places that I've gone to, it's typically the ownership of customer service to do FTRs or first-time resolutions. It's never the sales guy who is supposed to do FTRs or an account manager who is supposed to do FTRs. But the idea is that you empower these guys to the extent that you can, then you will actually move as fast as you can, and the customer's experience will be equally good. Because customers don't treat them that, okay, when I call customer service, I expect good level of service, but when I call the sales guy, I don't want it. So it's us who have basically defined this. We have defined like this channel should be this way and that channel should be that way. Customers treat them as just channels. It's, for example, a lot of places we still see that, okay, if I send an email, you can expect an answer in 24 hours. But when I call, you talk to me immediately. So it's in our minds that we have defined this silo that, okay, if you send an email, I'll only talk in 24 hours. But the customer didn't say that you talk in 24 hours. If you call, for example, an Uber, there's no option to calling. So you send an email, you will get a response also in 5 minutes. So it's our paradigm of how we have defined our channels and how we have defined it. But from a customer experience and a journey perspective, there is no such differentiation that we need to do. From a servicing perspective, what we are adding is a lot of automation. We are looking at both from bots from virtual customer assistants. We are looking at bots for improving productivity. We are improving automation through process workflows. We are also giving a lot of dashboards, and which is what we'll be showcasing as this, to give deeper insights to customers. What we have realized is that there is gap in both our solutions and other solutions in the market is that there is a different solution that gives insights and a different solution that gives operational data. We are trying to merge the two by giving both insights and data in the same platform so that you can actually take action on things that is there. And lastly, from a retention and loyalty perspective, one of the most common things that we have been doing custom solutions, as in from the last, whatever, 8, 10 years that we have been doing, is primarily on customer 360-degree views. What we thought is, okay, if we have to redefine our customer journey, can we do something which reduces the kind of effort that we are doing for doing this 360-degree view? So we have built in new screens which actually have inbuilt 360-degree views, where you can actually have your own kind of workspaces. You can define your own style of workspaces, which are integrated with, can be integrated with third-party solutions, can be integrated with our own solutions, and you can define any number of workspaces. You don't have to have two by two or 3 by 3, or it can be anything by anything. You define how your screen layout comes so that you get a 360-degree view. And this is valid both from the mobile as well as from the desktop perspective. The idea is that when an account manager, for example, is visiting someone and he's visiting those details, you want to get insights at the tip of your finger. You don't want to look at some 7 screens and 10 screens. You don't have the time. Not everyone can be trained that fast. And similarly, let's say when a customer service guy is also answering a call, you want the 360-degree view to get, okay, what details can I get about this customer? Sometimes it might be a KYC issue. Sometimes it might be an upsell, cross-sell issue. It could be different kinds. So we are giving this feature out of the box where you can actually cut down this entire cycle, how you can actually manage this. And we're also building things like feedback management, which was, again, things that used to be built custom for a lot of our customers, but we are now incorporating it as part of our base product. And lastly is our household management, which is called differently in different places. In banking, it is called household management. In some others, it is called investor management. In a mutual fund, in insurance, it is called probably something else. So we're trying to do an aggregation where you can truly get the customer behind the object. When you're talking about insurance, a lot of people, a lot of systems are very policy-oriented. A lot of mutual funds are very folio-oriented, or a bank is very customer account-oriented, or a bank account-oriented. We are trying to get the customer behind it and trying to give this as a default feature where you can actually see who's the actual customer behind it, build the rules behind it so that you can actually know and get insights of the customers rather than the transactional objects that we are used to. And lastly, to come, what is it that we are trying to add value to this? We are trying to add value in 3 ways. One is to enhance the customer experience by doing simpler, faster solutions. We are doing things which are integrated, customer-centric. And finally, secondly, we are also doing to increase revenues. And how do we increase revenues? You know more insights about the customer, you gain more revenues out of it. You're better in cross-sell, you're better in upsell. And by adding automation and workflows, we are also decreasing the FTE costs because we are improving the productivity. So more time is actually spent on insights rather than doing mundane tasks which are repeatable in nature. Now with these are the 4 release themes, which brief I've told you. The 3 booths actually cover these 4 areas. There is one on intelligence. When we are talking about intelligence, we are talking about both artificial intelligence, we are talking about options for bots. And when we are talking about bots, we believe bots can be not just real-time bots kind of nature. We think bots are omnibots in our definition, where across any channel the bot should work. It should work to give insights. It should work to give information which can be through our systems, can be through third-party systems. We don't care. As long as we serve the value, that's what we want to do. From a social perspective, while we always had Facebook and Twitter, we've added now tools like Facebook Messenger, WeChat, Line, Viber, LinkedIn, WhatsApp, all kinds of channels, because in different countries we realize that it's not the same tool that is working. We have countries like Myanmar, for example, where Viber is the #1 instant messaging tool. countries like India, where WhatsApp is the primary tool, or country like China, for example, has WeChat. So every country has a slightly different flavor of which tool to use. And from an automation perspective, we are looking at automating both the workflows perspective as well as the integration layers, which I'll talk slightly later. And lastly, on the mobility perspective, we have actually rebuilt our entire mobile stack ground up. We have actually relooked at how the mobile stack works. In fact, some of the things which are not there in the desktop itself, or the web clients, we have actually moved that to the mobile clients, where we have ground up, rebuilt the whole stack to give that kind of experience that mobile deserves. And lastly, from an architecture perspective, these are the key changes that we are doing from an architecture perspective. One of the key objectives of most CIOs, IT folks, is about enhancing the security of the solution. So with 11.0, we are actually providing end-to-end data encryption, which is both at rest and in transit. And from an architecture perspective, we're also doing database isolation, which enables multiple different companies, different applications of companies being hosted in the same solution. It just reduces the total cost of ownership for a lot of customers, because you don't have to buy, you have to buy a single SQL Server license to install the same application. And lastly, third big improvement, and this is actually a customer feedback. A lot of our customers have been questioning as to how can we reduce the time and effort that we are taking for integrating with different applications. On an average, in every Talisma implementation, we do something like 15 to 20 different integrations. And each of them take time, they take effort, they take money. So what we are trying to build is a generic integration framework. This would be version 1 of the same, where we are actually building that how do we reduce code to do an integration, and can we actually totally eliminate it. So this is our first steps towards that. We've got some feedback from certain customers where we are actually doing beta with those. If that's successful, we'll keep developing the same further. And as I said, the mobile architecture, which is a native app that we are building based on React.js. So it's a ground-up new app built for the mobile, rather than the earlier versions, which used to be the web client on the mobile kind of thing, which gave a slightly more geeky kind of feeling. Okay. With that, I end my slides. Any questions, anybody? Okay.
Well, Sudhir, thank you. That was fantastic. Thank you very much. You did a great job out there.